Hello, Profit Hackers. I'm Jeremy Lott, the Chief Visionary for Foundation Accounting and Consulting. I owned a construction company for about 15 years before making a change to accounting because my accountants sucked. My goals are to simplify accounting for construction company owners, fuel your profits, level up your cash flow, and help you grow in a financially responsible way. So let's go. Hey, Profit Hackers, and welcome to the next episode of the Contractors Profit Hacks Show. I'm Jeremy Lott with Foundation Accounting and Consulting, and I am here to help simplify accounting and make it so that, yes, even you as a contractor can understand what's going on with your numbers, right? And we do that by I use stories, and we also use a lot of analogies when I'm teaching one-on-one or in groups to help people be able to really understand what's going on with their business without having to know a lot of math. As my friend Dan Ravisto always says, who was on the episode several episodes ago, accounting is third grade math. It really is. That's all the more complicated it is. So let's go ahead and jump into the next item. We've been talking about ratios. We talked a little bit about gross profit margin, and we talked a little bit about days in accounts receivable. So remember, when we use the word ratio, what we're doing is we're comparing two numbers, right? There's this number here, and we're comparing it to this number. And by doing that, it helps us to understand the health of our company and how things are progressing for us, right? Today, we're going to talk about the days in accounts payable. So before I dive into the details on that, I do have a story. I have had a couple of kidney infections that ended up landing me in the hospital, and it's miserable. But I had a hard time peeing for a little bit, and my urine had thickened quite a bit, and it was a very dark color. All the signs were there that something wasn't right, but I was not smart enough to pick up on that. So because there wasn't any pain, I continued to put it off and put it off and put it off. And then this dull ache started developing back in my back, right where the kidney is. Go figure. And I still didn't go into the hospital or go into the doctors to get it checked out and fixed. I kept putting it off because it was, no big deal. That's what we do as guys and as athletes, is we put things off, right? So I put it off again. Well, I came home one day from work, and I was freezing to death, just freezing. And I started just shaking, right? I figured the best solution for that would be to just hop in a warm shower, and just sit there so I could warm up, right? Well, I did, but I was still shaking so badly, even though I had warmed up a little bit. And finally, I told my wife, "Hey, Cal, let's go into the hospital and get this checked out." And sure enough, they found out I had a kidney infection. And my wife will never let me live it down, because the signs were there and I did not do anything about it, right? So now I know what the different signs are for a kidney infection, and I know when to go in, right? Wrong. Still not very smart person. It happened a second time a couple of years later. I'm really not that smart. So that just illustrates that if I can understand accounting, that means you can too, because you're definitely smarter than I am. But the reason that I bring this story up is because I kept putting off going in to get it taken care of, right? We're going to talk today a little bit about putting off your accounts payable. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a ratio to track our accounts payable and help us understand what's going on with our business. Okay? So what we're going to do very first is we are going to figure out the average accounts payable in the account. Okay? So that's really pretty simple. We just take what you're going to do is you're going to go to your software. You're going to say, I'm looking for the ratio for 2025. How many days in accounts payable? I'm going to type that in here. So we want to know the average. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull up our accounting software. And again, if we're looking at the year 2025, what I want to know what that balance was for accounts payable at the end of the previous year. So I want to look at a balance sheet for 12/31 of 2024, right? I'm going to scan down. I'm going to find the accounts payable number. And just a quick note, you do have to be in accrual method in order to see this. But I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to look at my accounts payable, and I'm going to write that number down. Okay, that's my beginning accounts payable. The next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to scroll down, I'm going to change my balance sheet so that the end date now is 12/31/2025, right? And then I'm going to scroll down and find the accounts payable number there, and I'm going to then write that number down as well. Okay, so now we have our accounts payable at the start of the year and our accounts payable at the end of the year, right? What we want to do after we figure out those two numbers is an average. And so really simply, all we've got to do is take the beginning balance, add it to the ending balance, right? And then divide it by 2. That's an average, right? That's really, really simple. You guys got this. So now I know what my average accounts payable was for that year, for 2025, right? The next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to add up all the payments for supplies, all the payments for contractors, all the other payments for different vendors related to the work, right? So it needs to be on the truck costs, and we're looking for those items that are on the truck related to specific jobs, right? We don't want to include anything else. We're going to include the payments to, again, our material vendors. We're going to include the payments to our subcontractors. And then you might have other things in there as well. You might have permits. You might have dump fees, those kind of things, right? Equipment rental. We're going to add up all those amounts for 2025, all of 2025, right? Okay, so this represents a cost of goods sold number, right? So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the average accounts payable, and we are going to then divide it by the cost of goods sold, all of those items added together, right? So we've got our accounts payable average divided by all those on the truck costs that are payments to other vendors, material suppliers, subs, cities for permits, the dump, those kind of things, right? So on top is our average accounts payable. On the bottom, we're going to call it our cost of goods sold, right? So we take that top number and we divide it by that bottom number. That will give us a ratio. And that ratio will tell us a percentage of accounts payable to cost of goods sold. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to multiply it by 365 days. Okay. So we're going to take that number, whatever that ratio is, and we're going to multiply it by 365 days. Okay. So what we should end up with is we should end up with a number that's below zero when we do our average accounts payable divided by our cost of goods sold. That number should be less than 1. Okay. So that's kind of what we're looking for there. And then when we multiply it by 365 days, what that then tells us is how many days on average it takes you to pay a bill, right? So if our result is 30, that means that on average, we take 30 days to pay a bill from the time we receive it and enter it into our system as a bill to the time that we pay it. That is about 30 days, that cycle. Okay. Now it may be higher or lower. So I want you to think for a second. Do we want that number to be higher or lower? Yeah, exactly. We want that number to be higher. Because if that number's higher, it means that we're spacing out our cash flow. And when we're paying people and sacrificing cash, it takes longer to do that, and we're going to have better cash flow. Okay? So we want that number to be as high as we possibly can get it without getting our subs and vendors upset. And we've already talked about building a relationship with them, using your mechanics lien rights, making sure you're protecting the mechanics lien rights of your subs and your suppliers so that they are protected and get paid as well, right? We've talked about that. So now that we have our days in accounts payable, what we want to do is we want to compare that to our days in accounts receivable. Okay? The reason that we're going to do that is because if our days in accounts receivable is at, say, 50 days, and our days in accounts payable is at 30 days, we've got a problem there. Because that means it's taking us on average 50 days to get paid, but we are putting out cash at only 30 days. So that means there's a 20-day period there that you have to have some extra cash in the bank account or some other way of financing those 20 days. Right? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. We want to compare accounts receivable, which we want to be as low as possible because that means we're getting paid faster, to our accounts payable days, which we want to be higher, right? So if we can get to a point where our accounts receivable days is lower than our accounts payable days, we're in really good shape. Because, for instance, that would mean that it only takes us 15 days to get paid, but we pay out in 30 days, right? That's 15 days. 15 days that you have a cash surplus and your money is now working for you for those days. All right? So I know this one's been a little bit longer. We explained a couple of different things here, and hopefully you are all good to go on being able to figure that out on your own. If not, you can always reach out to us. And remember, there are some things that you want to put off longer, like your accounts payable. And there are some things that you don't want to put off. You want to get on top of it as soon as possible. And that would be accounts receivable, right? And kidney infections. Don't put off kidney infections. Bad idea. All right. Thank you very much for listening today, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please like and subscribe for weekly episodes to help you fuel your profit, level up your cash flow, and finance your growth. Until next time, go enjoy some green M&Ms and protect that cash.